from our from the YouTube channel. So here we go. The live stream will be starting, but until we start, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna introduce you. It won't be long.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, I guess it was already talking about us. So anyway, let me mute it. Lord, okay. I will figure out all these technical difficulties soon in life, I promise you. So first of all, Amy, I'm excited to chat with you. I actually am hoping, of course, as many people as want to show up. If they don't, I'm also excited to have more of a personal conversation with you. And just highlight your experience and your determination as a person and how it translates into your career in nursing, because I know we have a lot of overlap. And it just is not, I won't say it's not often that you meet nurses that have very powerful stories. I think that's actually totally the opposite. But we are not always talking about those or in a position to talk about those overlaps or get really deep into your personal life, or it's really like disconnected. And then as we've talked and we've known each other over the last few months, we've come across the fact that we have a few parallel experiences in our life. So I'm excited to talk about that and to also just have a real authentic conversation about how you feel those experiences have helped you in your career, and also help to make you who you are personally, but also professionally, and how impactful those experiences have been. So I'm excited to chat with you also about your journey as a new business owner, and that experience and what you're learning, as well as the director of nursing. You wear many hats. And so I am excited to get going with you and to get to chatting. So I know we have an hour. An hour might seem like a long time at first, but it really goes by fast. Anna, we are glad to see you and to have you a part of the conversation. So Amy, tell us about you. Who are you as a person? Introduce yourself.
So my name is Amy. I will personally introduce myself. I am a wife, mother of 4 children. I have twin girls that will be 17 in September. One's graduating early next year. So it's a happy moment, but a sad moment. I envision my twins graduating together. So I'm proud, but a little sad. And her twin sister is too. And then I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old son. So our lives outside of just professional lives are very busy with soccer, constant soccer. Both of my girls work, so it's a busy time. I have been a nurse for 9 years now, and the majority of those 9 years have been in long-term care nursing. I started as a LVN, and I was a charge nurse for a year. Then I went into nursing administration, and that's what I have been doing the last 8 years. And now next month will be 2 years as a director of nursing. So I've worked my way up. I was at LVN for 7 years, then went on and got my RN. So I felt like personally, I felt like it took a while to get to that point, but I've learned that the only competition you have is yourself. You're only competing against your own timeline. So everybody's stories and walks of lives are not the same. So that's one thing I try to tell people. I love mentoring people. So they will be like, no, I need to go get that RN. I'm like, whatever works for you at this moment, don't worry about what other people are doing. Because I tell them, like, I got caught up in that too. Honestly, I felt like I was less of a nurse because I had gotten my LVN first, but that's what worked for me, having 4 kids at the time. And my husband was very supportive, but that's what worked. And so I always tell everyone, like, build up to what you want to get to. You're only racing against your own self. So
Yeah. You kind of already went all the way into like the content before I could even ask you a question.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So let's kind of jive around this idea of let's go back a few
Mhm.
steps. Okay. I know you journeyed real quick.
I did, I
you
did.
went from you went from mother all the way to, business and mindset and all the things. But I want to go back and go a little bit more into detail. So you're married, you're a wife. How long have you been married?
Oh my God, I feel so old when I say this, but I'm not. I'm 34. It's going to be 18 years in November. We've been together 18 years. And I feel like we beat the statistics, being teenage parents. I was 16 when I was pregnant with my twins, had them at 17. So the statistics are not good when you look at it for teenage parents to make it that long. So I felt like we have overcome a lot of trials and tribulations along, but we're both very supportive.
Yeah.
Especially my husband's always pushing me to do better. So,
Yeah. So teenage parents together, twins. I didn't know your twins were the oldest.
oh
Um,
yes, that
my
I
twins
felt
are
like
in the
that was a sign there. Like, I didn't know. It was shocking to
yeah,
find out I was having twins. It was on Valentine's Day, and my sister went in with me for the ultrasound, and I mean, her eyes were huge, and I turned and looked at the ultrasound monitor, and I was like, "Why is there two dots on the screen?" And
yeah,
they're like, "Congratulations!" And I'm just shaking because I'm
yeah.
like, "I'm 16. You should not be congratulating this." It was a shock. Like, my
But
husband got off of work to come and look at the ultrasound. He did not believe it. He thought I was lying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So 16, teenage parents, pregnant, not with one, but with two babies. I think I was 22 or 23. I can't remember when I was I had my twins, and I had an older daughter at that time. I wasn't a teenage mother. Well, I got pregnant at 19. That's not really a teenage mother. But my kids remind me technically I was 19, but I come from a family that by the time I had children, all of my cousins had children, even cousins under me, and they were kind of like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was kind of like, "Shoot, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Like, I don't know." But anyway, let's just I love I want to dive a little deeper into this because what when you say you defy the statistics, I actually for a lot of years called myself a statistics defier on purpose. Like I defy statistics intentionally. Okay. Like if you tell me that the statistics are this, for example, my mom died when I was young. My father was not involved. Several things. So, okay. No father household, traumas. That means you can't do this and you can't do that. And in my mind, it was like, I don't really know about that. I'm gonna do this. This is what I feel I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do. So do you in any way see the parallel from starting out as a teenage mother, you and your husband together, and knowing that statistics were against you? Do you think your mentality about that was there at that age, or is that something you developed?
Honestly, I think it was something I developed. So I remember I was 20 when I had my fourth child, and I was like, "That's it. I'm tying my
How did
tubes."
we go from 2 to 4? What happened to the third one?
Well, but I had my no, I
She
was
skipped
I
all the
was
way over the third
20, my bad. That's a wrong. I was 20 when I had my third child.
one. Okay.
22, I had my fourth son. So I remember after I had him, I told my husband, I was like, I think that, this is our family's big enough. He wanted a fifth child. I said, not for me. It's like I'm not having any more. So I told him like I want to do something in life. I want to go to school or something. And he's like, well, you're definitely not going to just go get a job. You need to go to school. You need to go get a career. So he really pushed me. And I actually took the HESI exam. I took my GED when I was 23. So I didn't have any intention of actually being accepted into a program. And so I applied and I did. And I just knew that was God,
Yeah.
like preparing the rest of my path. So I
Yeah.
think going through not just being a teenage parent, but a lot of uh, childhood issues growing up with family and stuff, I just always felt determined to try
Yeah.
and do better, especially for my kids. So now when I look at my especially my daughters, when they turned 16, I was super emotional because I was looking at them. I was like, "You're doing so great in life." And I was just thinking about myself. Not that I was doing bad in life, but I was
Yeah.
pregnant. So I was like, "You're doing so much good in life." I was like,
Yeah.
it makes me, feel like we're accomplishing things in life. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I had my fifth child at, I got, well, 26, I believe. Had her like 27. There was like a 4 or 5 year gap between her and the other kids. And you made a wise decision, because when I had her, I was like, I am too old for this. Like at 27, I am too old. Like I don't know what I was thinking in the beginning, but I am not cut out for this pregnancy thing. It's just not working with my body. It was horrible. I don't know what it was, but um I also was a high school dropout. I dropped out at ninth grade. I really don't consider myself to be a high school dropout, though. I consider myself to be someone who decided to stop doing traditional education because it had taught me all that I needed to know. That's what I really feel.
I
Um,
like that. I liked
I
that.
never went back. I never, I was in AP classes. I got moved around a lot in school just due to family situations. By the time I got to ninth grade, after I had been in a different system, a different school system that we were way ahead, I realized like I really do not fit in here. And to just keep coming here is getting me in trouble. I'm in the dean's office like for half the day, I spent my time in the office working as a way for me not to get in trouble. Like that was the principal solution,
That's
right?
funny.
So then, of course, me being me, I'm like, this is free labor. I'm not even getting paid for this, right? Like if I'm gonna work and y'all got me doing like real work, like data entry and stuff. Like this is in the 90s or no, late 80s, early 90s. I'm like, I should be getting paid for this. You know what I'm saying? And spent most of my time in the office, so I didn't get in working in the office, so I didn't get in trouble because not that I wanted to get in trouble, but the teachers were teaching certain things and I'm asking questions like, I don't think that's right. But because the book says, right? So they're like, you need to get
And they don't
out.
like when you're
You need to go.
questioning. So,
But I decided, like, and I won't even say I decided. I think my hunger for information at that time was so strong that in that traditional setting, I wasn't getting what I needed. So I decided to go to school to be a CNA. That's what I did. I enrolled to be a CNA. I graduated and then I went to work. And I went through a program that paid for me to go, had a guaranteed job in a really nice part of Indiana. I remember my first CNA job, y'all. My first CNA job paid me $12 an hour. Okay. That was in the 90s. Then I was there, went through my training, met some great CNAs and some LPNs, and they told me about this thing where you can go work for agency. And I'm like, agency? I don't know what that is. But they showed me that I could make 12. I was making $12 at my regular job, but if I went and worked for agency, I had the potential to make like $18 or $19, right? In the
mhm.
90s, I'm like 19. Okay, I got to do that. And so I went and I worked my regular job, but then I worked agency. Had no clue what I was really doing. Ended up getting several of my other cousins that also were teen mothers, got them to go to CNA school. Then I got them to do agency. Then there's 3 or 4 of us riding in the car because we taking contracts at the same place. Like we didn't create our whole little system. Now this is the first time I'm actually talking about this, like since it happened and like kind of thinking about it, like, damn, Amanda, you just always been disrupting stuff, right? Like you just always over here trying to find this thirst for knowledge, this thirst to understand how to get ahead. Like there has to be more to this life, right? And so, your husband, I saw your husband. He is active on our Nurses in Tech Facebook page, and
Mhm.
I said, "Who is this man?" And I looked and it was your husband. Talk about how your husband's support has been instrumental in your life, and even just in looking back on how you were able to go from being a teenage mom, from dropping out of high school, to taking the HESI test and not expecting to get accepted, to getting accepted, and then saying, okay, I'm really going to do this.
Oh, ha I, he's always been like my motivator, and I think that that goes with him. So fun backstory about how we met. We were next door neighbors when I was 5 years old. I've known him my whole life.
Wow.
So then we ended up dating when I was about 15, almost 16. So we've known each other our whole lives, and he's just he's always been, and I'm really blessed to have him in my life. I feel like most guys at that age are not
Yeah.
smart, and he was always, like, ahead of the game. Like, he'd be the person that was in the shower calculating numbers. He's like, "Amy, I know you don't believe this, but we're gonna have a house. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that," and, I mean, everything that he has said, we end up doing. Like, we were homeowners at the age of 16 and 18. So his dad loaned us this money. We bought the house. He paid it back to him. At that time, I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom. Then we totally remodeled the house, and then it'd move on to the next chapter. Like, we'd go drive in a different neighborhood, and he's like, do you want that house? We're gonna get that house. And it's like each thing. So he's very I don't know, he amazes me how great he is, because he's always motivating me, and he's like, we needed each other in life, and he knows all the struggles I've been through. So he's like, use that to become a better person. So I don't
Yeah.
have the victim mentality. It's like, you're gonna use it for good or bad, so I'm gonna use it for good and move on with my life and try to do better. So,
Yeah. And ultimately, the decision is ours.
yes, for
Yeah.
sure. That's what I try to tell my kids, because when you see certain people making not right decisions, they'll be like, "Oh, well, they're going through this." I'm like, "Look, I," and not to go too deep into the things I've gone through in life, but I've been through some pretty traumatizing
Yeah.
things, and I'm like, everybody has the choice to use this for good or use it for bad. Are you gonna become a better person and help people out, or, is it gonna keep you down the rest of your life? So,
Yeah. Yeah. So that takes us to the work that you do every day as
yeah.
the director of nursing. You've been the director of nursing, was it, you said 2 years?
Yes, 2 years.
Oh, I remember my time. I remember my time as a director of
You
nursing.
know, the constant calls, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I'm very, what is the word I'm looking for? I'm able to do the job, and I don't buckle under pressure. And people will tell me all the time, they're like, "Amy, we never know if you're mad, if you're upset, you're
Yeah.
not." I'm like, "And you never will know, because I like to keep that calm." I'm like, what good does it have you to have somebody in a leadership position
Yep.
freaking out the rest of the staff? That does you no good."
Yeah. I will say the toughest thing about my roles in management were not the roles. It was stepping into a role that already had a perceived persona. Like, it, due to, either the director of nursing, assistant director of nursing, unit supervisor, weekend manager before you, there's already a perceived persona of what that person's supposed to be like, right?
Yeah, and you have to create what your leadership style is going to be. So I'm not micromanaging you. I
Yeah,
trust that you're doing your job, but when I see that you're constantly not doing what you're supposed to do, then that's a problem. I'm gonna
yeah,
call you out on it and say, "What are we doing to work better?"
yeah,
To,
yeah,
like, one of our issues right now is, it shouldn't even be an issue, but it's CNA documentation. They're not completing it. So then I have corporate level writing me about this, and I'm like, it's your job. You're already doing it. Take credit for the work
yeah,
you've already done for these 8 or 12 hours. So it's finding ways to just get through to the staff. But I feel like I have a good relationship with the staff. Like, we all respect each other, and I try to keep that work. I don't there's people that I will call friends, but I feel like we all had to have that boundary, you know?
Yeah.
You can't mix those lines. Then it becomes like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do this because she's my friend," or things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I realized very quickly was that the way that I lead is the way that I live. The way that I lead people is the way that I live every day.
Mhm.
Right? There was really no difference, right? Like I'm just one of those people that um you can't be around me if you don't want to hear truth, because I have an inability to like, oh yeah, girl, you're doing a great job. And I know you are like, I'm like, why you do that for? That didn't make sense. And let's talk about why you did it, because if we understand why you did it, then we can understand how that you don't do it again, right? So I've always been that person. And then I've always been the person that's non-judgmental. Like if I'm around you and I say I am on this journey with you, whether it's at work or it's at home, I truly mean it. So if there's some correction, um, or coaching is the better word these days. I'm all for it. I'm for it. I'm here for it without judgment.
Mhm.
Once we get over the thing, I'll move on to something else. You'll never hear it come back up. I won't throw it in your face. So one thing I realized was that a lot of times, especially being young, my first management role, I was like 26 years old. And it was at a long-term care facility that was predominantly people of color or low income people, as well as the employees were mostly people of color or people from those communities. And it was not real cool for this little light-skinned 26-year-old girl with an RN degree be coming up in here telling people what to do that didn't even work at the company before. And my first role was weekend supervisor, and they over here like, she her? What's she about to do? Right? Okay. And I felt kind of highly disrespected a little bit. Like, I came here thinking we was about to be cool. This was gonna be fun. I was about to help my community. Da, 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 da. I realized real quick, back up. That ain't that ain't how this is about to go.
No, you're there. That's one thing. It took me a couple months to realize this. You're never gonna make anyone happy. So you have to be certain in the decisions you're taking and why you're doing those.
Yeah.
And one thing that people try to do is they'll tell you something and they want you to immediately react. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know you want a reaction right now, but you're not gonna get one right now. I will sit down, I will look at this, and then we'll see how we'll proceed, because they think like, "Okay, you're the director of nursing, so you should if I tell you something about somebody, you should go out there and
Yes.
fire them." No,
Yes.
there's a
Yes.
whole process, protocol that you have
Yes.
to follow, so
Whole mentality I never understood, right? And so I realized for myself, good thing that I as much as I defy systems, I respect them, right? I When I say I defy them, I mean if there's a system that does not make sense and it needs to be changed, I'll definitely like speak up against that. But I feel like you have to have rules and systems to even have any type of structure, especially when you're dealing with people, right? And so one thing that really helps me and my leadership helped me there was that I was standing at the time clock every Friday. My shift started on Friday night. I knew who was on time. I knew who was late. So by my fourth weekend, I began to have individual one-on-one sessions with everybody from on the weekends, and gave them a heads up. If you are late, you will be sent home according to the policies that we have. I don't remember what they were exactly at that time, but it was something about if you were so many minutes late, you got sent home. You would come back the next day. If you were late again, you got sent home. You were out for like a week, but then you had to work like the next 2 weekends. It was something like that. And had this whole open conversation with everybody about it. So that next weekend, when it was time to implement what I had already told them, mind you, this was already the rules before I even got there.
they just weren't
And I
being
start
implemented.
now. I'm at this time clock. It's the fifth weekend, and I'm not even using words. If you ain't clocked in, the this was the sign. That meant just go back to the car. Just right. And I have made it clear I'm not going to have conversations at the door with people. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to waste time doing what I'm trying to do. And that was hard for people. And there was a whole like uproar, right? Luckily the DON at the time supported me. But when people started to meet with me and come back, and I held them accountable that they had to do the 2 weekends and all these other things, or they were going to get the strikes or whatever. When I started having one-on-ones with them, you know what? And this is the first time I really learned the type of leader that I am, and how my leadership style is respected. They said, the one thing with you is you're consistent and you don't say a lot, but what you said you're going to do is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no room for a whole lot of emotionalism. There's no room for this. And then the other thing, which I think we have this in common, was I can't really read you. You don't need to read me. I'm here to do a job.
That's what I
And
tell them.
that's
They're like, I can't tell if you're happy or mad. I was like, I'm me. This is what you got.
right. And it worked. So my point to that being, I feel like that also stems from my experiences in life, and just being young and going through a lot of different things, especially being a high school dropout, having a lot of kids. I feel like there was always this perceived perception from people of who I was, that I always worked really hard to make sure that they understood who you think I am is not who I am. No, I mean, I don't need to worry about who you think I am as much as I need to control and worry about who I want to be. Who do I
Mhm.
want you to perceive me to be? Even if I'm not there yet in my mind. Now, in my mind, I might be like, I don't know why these people can't come to work. They know they need a job. Their car falling apart. They talking about this. In my mind, I'm probably thinking a whole lot of things.
Well, I mean,
But
there'll be times when you have upsetting things, and I mean, there's just been like a couple instances when employees, they don't like what you're saying, and
yeah,
I mean, I've had one yelling, cussing. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not disrespecting you, and you can just leave. Like, give me your keys and you can leave. I've never disrespected people like that, and I don't know. They try to get you out of character, and I mean, obviously they've caught some people out of character, but I'm
yeah.
like, you're not going to do that with me.
I mean, the confrontation, and I know we see this, is one thing to see it on social media where people talk about the confrontation in healthcare, the violence in healthcare, usually talked about amongst patients and families. But there's a big proponent of that happens, especially in the long-term care facilities, from employee to employee. Where we're living in a time where people are not the best at controlling their emotions. They're not the best at communications. They're not the best at respecting and understanding rules and hierarchy, right? And
Well,
so, in a
there's
sense,
one instance, I had to discipline somebody, and she's like, "Well, not everybody can have their life all together like you." I'm like, "You don't know." I said, "What, you think you know me because I'm where I'm at right now?" I'm like, "You don't know all the things it took to
woo,
get to
I
this
can't
point
even
in my
count the
life."
amount of times I heard that one. And
Yeah.
not even from young nurses. I'm talking older nurses, older CNAs. We can't all come from a white collar family. I'm like, where? Where?
Yeah.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Girl, ain't nobody. I didn't come from a white collar family. What you talking about? I'm
Well,
a
the
first
perception
generation
is because
graduate.
you've gotten to that point in your life. I'm like, "You don't know what it took to get to this
You
point," but
don't
you know
know what
what?
it took to get here. You don't know that.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that brings me to, and I want to get into your journey with your new business. But I just think there's so much depth in our journeys from the beginning to where we are. Like, people will see us where we are and they just assume that we just like got here.
Mm-mm.
Or, we're used to seeing people show up and talk about where they are, but not what it took to get there.
And I think
And
that's
all the pit
important.
stops that you had to go on.
I think that's
I had to pull over
important.
to the Jiffy Lube, right, and get my mind together. I had to pull up to the Jiffy Lube. I'm used saying Jiffy Lube after my divorce. I had to pull up to the Jiffy Lube. I did had to take some times and sit down and get together and think it through and do my crying and stuff not be together, and go to the doctor, go to the pastor, go to the counselor, or whatever else I had to do. But even during those times, I still had to get up and go do what I'm assigned to do in my job, in my profession, the profession that I love, which is nursing. and somehow figure out how to bring all of me to this role, to this profession.
Well, I
And I
think
think
you
that's
pointed out something great. Like, I think everyone gets caught up in the professional, right? Like, oh, I'm doing this. But I think sharing the personal is really important too, because it helps empower other people that may feel like, oh, I could never do that. Yes, you can, because once you start getting to know people on a personal level, it becomes more realistic to you.
yeah. When was it? Just a few weeks ago. I love personal story. I try to focus, let us have our personal time. We don't have a good mixture yet because I think the essence of who a person is tells you more about them than professional stuff ever can. But when was it? Just maybe 3 weeks ago that we were talking and you told me, hey, Amanda, I saw your post about being a high school dropout. I'm a high school dropout. I about fell off my chair. I was like, huh? I said, how did I not know that?
I know, I was 15. I hated math. I told my mom, sign me out. I'm done with it. I don't want to look back. And I tell myself, who in the heck listens to a 15-year-old, right? Like, who listens to a 15-year-old? Because if my daughter's struggling, I'm like, I'm sorry, you got to keep pushing. You
Yeah,
got to keep pushing. I'm not going to sign you out. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And we all got to hold ourselves accountable, and that's
yeah.
my decision too. So have to move
But
on
once
and try to
again,
do better.
that goes to what you said about a decision. So the other thing that me and Amy, and we're going to get off this personal track because it's 10:30. We're going to talk about all her business stuff. But the other thing that me and Amy have in common is that my youngest daughter is also graduating high school. She's 16. She's graduating this month actually, and starting college this month at the community college. So she's totally just skipping senior year. Just I'm over it. I'm ready to go. And you bring up your mom. You said who listens to the 15-year. I'm gonna ask the question. I think I know the answer. But do you think how you were parented, your life, what you've learned has also helped to make you the mother that I'm not gonna say the mother you wanted your children to have because of the mother you didn't have. I don't want to say it like that. But do you really think that helps to influence how you parent now? Because a lot of times I hear people talking about, and I see a lot of people parent their children in the way they were parented, even though they know it didn't work.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, parenting doesn't come with a handbook, especially being a teenage parent. So
Yeah,
it's all by trial and error. And I really do. I look at especially my daughters, I'm like, y'all are some amazing human beings. I did I expect that? Probably not, just because you're learning everything as a teenager. But I think all the things that I've gone through in, earlier years of life pushed me to try to be a better person. And even now, like, just making hard decisions, if people, whether it's your family, that are causing you, say,
yep,
mental harm, you got to
yep,
cut them off and just overcome that. And so that's a personal decision that I've made. Does it hurt you every day? Yes, but I know that it's holding on to a certain relationship is probably just causing me to be a different person that I don't realize it to be. So I choose to try and be a better person than that what was given to me, and I feel like I'm doing a good job at it. Especially my
you are
husband
doing
and
a
I, we're
great
a
job.
great team. So yes.
You're doing a great job. Great job. I'm gonna
Amy,
stop.
if oh
Yep,
sorry, if I
Doctor
can
says you
jump
have
in
any
for
questions.
just I can jump in for just a second. I know we're running on time here. To add to like the personal harm or the mental harm thing, I I will share like a podcast that I found recently. It's by a woman. Her name is Mel Robbins.
Yep,
Oh, okay.
You met Mel
love her.
Robbins? Yeah, so she actually had a psychiatrist on, or a psychologist. It's someone I'd actually seen a bunch of on YouTube. And anyway, the psychiatrist, she basically just confirmed a lot of things that I had already been practicing, which was really practicing that if people are causing you mental harm, it's it's very painful, but you basically just have to give up hope, because it's the hope that keeps you hopeful that things are going to change. So that was really a validation, I guess. And, you know, when people cause you, especially people you trust the most, like you're supposed to trust them, your family, whatever, you're never going to get that validation of what they did are wrong or this is wrong or whatever. She's like, she just validated that, you know, I had given up hope, and that's really the only way to move forward, you know, to no longer have that hope. And it's an extremely difficult thing to do, but that's what you have to do.
Well, I think
I'm
my husband made me realize, like, I think as an adult, I didn't want to realize, or, you know, you try to quiet a lot of things, just block them out. And he'd be like, Amy, like, you don't realize this is causing you pain. And at the end of the day, you're ending up hurting your own family because you keep trying to hold on to this relationship that shouldn't be a relationship anymore. So it's been a couple months now, and honestly, I feel liberated.
Yeah,
So
it is really liberating.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I know
an
we are.
energy drain.
Yeah. I know we're not here for a therapy
Mhm.
session. I know that, but I want to add something. If you guys are not following me on Facebook, please follow me on Facebook. In June, I had started this series in May on setting boundaries as a form of self-care, and it came out of coaching sessions that I was having with my clients, and a few of those people are from Nurses in Tech. I didn't listen to the Mel Robbins video you're talking about, but to put context to this video and what you're saying, I do want to, I feel I'm missing an opportunity if I don't add some clarity here, because we do want to remember we are human beings, right? We are humans in this physical world. There are parts of us that we don't wholly understand. And I would hope to think that we are all trying to understand, you know, the different compartments of who we are as people. That can include, you know, how we were brought up. That can include our family. That can include our friends and all those things. But we also do have to understand that we go through different seasons in life. And sometimes, especially as healthcare providers, especially as nurses and mothers, we are not only told, but we're trained to take care of other people. And I just want to say, put some caution in. I get a little cringy when I hear people encourage others to just cut people off. Because sometimes it's not a matter that you got to cut people off, especially if they're family. I say that because I know all family don't have to be doing the right thing, and all family ain't got to be your best friend, right? But if you're cutting people off without resolving, right, whatever the internal or emotional connection is that's causing the problem, and if you don't have time to get to it right now in your life, fine, take a break, take a step back, take a pause. Communicate with them. I need to take a pause from what we got going on, right? You know, own it. Like, until we're able to have a conversation that's not causing you stress and causing me stress, we just got to take some time apart. Why do I say that? We live in a world already where everybody's solutions to everything is to cut people off and walk away from stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't in shape or form think that's 100% healthy. Because sometimes the things that cause us, I won't say harm or cause us, I don't really like the word harm, but sometimes the things that cause us stress and sometimes the things that cause us emotional turmoil are also things that are a part of us that are from our past and things like that. And you don't have to be in a space to resolve it right now, but burying unresolved issues has never done anybody any good.
Yep.
Well, I think that was definitely a decision that wasn't taken lightly. It was something that, you know, stemmed from childhood, was brought out in the open, repeatedly discussed, legal action. When you can't, when you're in constant denial about something that happened and you can't validate that to me is I'm done with trying. I'm not going to be the person.
Let me add one more thing to this. This is very superficial what I'm saying, right? Because what I'm saying is not about the person.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is about us as people, right? The other part of that is, which I love talking about personal, is because when you are seeking validation, even personally and professionally from other people, that's because of an unresolved portion in you, right? And so how we treat other people and the grace that we give other people is not about them. So when there is this thing that goes around that says just cut people off, right? Think about it. and I'm not saying this is what happened in your situation. I don't know every situation. Every situation is different. But we do live in a time where it seems to be that the advice for people, if people show you who they are the first time, believe them. People can't do this, cut them off. I don't know how many times I hear cut it off on social throughout the day. I'm just like, we cutting everybody off. By the time y'all get done cutting everybody off, and then the other part of that, then the next thing, people over here like, I'm so lonely. I feel like nobody understands me. I'm so isolated. I'm depressed. Well, shit, you cut everybody off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Yeah.
I do get that part. I do think that there's, situations.
But there's nothing wrong with knowing where you are in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna transition. We're not low on time, but I want to talk about Amy's business.
Yes.
Who we in Nurses in Tech have had the awesome opportunity to watch her just flourish from March of 2023 to now, 2024 to now, from this idea of, I remember the first time I met Amy and she was telling me about her job of director of nursing and why she was interested in Nurses in Tech and what she wanted to do. And I want to say that I am beyond proud to have been able to watch her be one of those people who has gone from, this is why I want to be a part of your community, this is how I think I can help, and this is what I want to do, to actually doing it. So tell us all about your organization, what you do, and how it's going.
So with my experience in long-term care and just seeing quality of care, and just, I think training is 100%, directly related to the quality of care that the patients or residents will receive.
Certainly.
So my business is called M&A, the Academy of Caregiving. So it is a certified nurse aid training program. So I will be doing my own teaching, education, and producing certified nurse aides. And I eventually will add other programs, but it's been a journey from, like Amanda said, just thinking about it. I think our fear of failure holds us back, because I do this for the facility that I work at all the time, but to want to separate yourself from the company you work for and do it yourself, it's a little scary, because you're like, oh my God, all these things are going wrong, but I'm knee deep in everything and I'm committed to it. And actually, I think I set a opening date of September 2nd, which is actually my twin 17th birthday. So that's like the perfect date. I feel like there's been when I say the fear of failure, you don't realize how many nurses are out there that are willing to help you, and they're willing to guide you. Like, okay, check out this person, network with this person. There's been so many nurses that have helped me and direct me to where I need to get the information to.
Yeah. Fear of failure. So before I go into that, what did your job do when they found out about this?
Actually, my administrator is pretty supportive. He signed the contract for me to be able to do clinical externships there, and obviously that's going to help. Right. I'm producing high quality CNAs, right? And I didn't just come up with this idea. I have been teaching the CNA program where I work at. So I know all the ins and outs.
Yep.
So now just doing it on my own, but it's going to help get them certified nurse aides, which we all know there's not a workforce shortage.
Yeah.
The people are there. They're just tired, especially after COVID. They're tired. There's not a nursing CNA shortage. We all have to do better. And I think people are not willing to put up with certain circumstances anymore. So that's where the real issue is. And my motto is always quality over quantity. I'd rather work short all day, but have quality employees. So I take pride in the students that I have from February to last month. I had, 13 students from the facility that I taught. And I mean, I tell them all the time, I'm like, y'all make me like a proud mom, especially when they're testing and I'm getting the results that they're certified now. I'm like, y'all are giving me proud mom moments. I'm like, y'all don't understand. So
before I ask any more questions, does anybody else have a question for Amy? I love Amy's story of where she is right now. I love the idea that you said, nurses are scared to do things on their own. But you are
Well, we
already
have
doing
all the
it.
qualities. We have all the qualities, all the knowledge, the skill set. I mean, we're used to being adaptable. Why not take our skills that we already know and knowledge that, I mean, at the end of the day, you're being profited off of, right, from a company. Why not go and do that for yourself?
Yeah, and what I was gonna do, I just want to change those words. You guys know I like to play with words, right? We're scared to do it on our own. Actually, are we scared? Because you were already doing it for the facility. We talk ourselves out of owning it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to own our own greatness because for some reason, and this is not just nurses, but I'm a nurse and that's what I care about. So I'm talking to nurses.
Mm-hmm.
We talk ourselves out of owning what we already do, who we already are, what we already have the skills for. You are already doing this at the facility. And I just think it is so life changing that your administrator has come alongside you and not only said, yeah, go ahead and just go ahead. If you want to do it, go do it. Fine, great. Came alongside you and said, yes, please do it. And not only that, we are going to work with you to make sure that your business is successful. And we are putting our stamp of approval on you. And you still got your job. Ain't
I
nobody trying
do
to get
say,
you fired.
That's
no.
amazing.
No, it's I do feel like I have great support. And at the end of the day, you have to look at, okay, this is the product that I'm offering, and then how can you present that? Like this is going to benefit in the community in general, because we have several long-term care facilities and we have 2 hospital systems nearby. So I'm still trying to get a contract with the local hospital. Hasn't been that easy, but I'll
Yeah.
get it eventually. So I just think it's the way you're marketing what you're offering.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
tell us about the
learning
process.
as I go.
Yeah, the process you've had to go through for anybody that may watch this and may be interested in opening a CNA school. I know when we talked about it, even when we keep talking about it, the first thing I said was there's definitely not a shortage of, I mean, people will say that the market for CNA schools is saturated, and it's not. The training schools is not a saturated market
So
at
the
all if they
issue
look like it.
is so like say the local community colleges have a CNA program. The issue is they don't have teachers to teach the class. So that's why the model that I have in mind is doing like 10 students at a time in a month. And I get to have that one-on-one. And the classes that I've taught at the facility, I've done 6 or 7, 7 the max, because I like to keep it personal. And if you're struggling, I want to understand what it is that you're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Not everybody learns the same way. So I
Yeah.
try to do a lot of interactive, like using the name of wheel for skills and all that. It's a lot of learning styles.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the process to
Oh
getting the
yeah,
intake?
sorry. Yeah, so the process, you have, so for the state of Texas, you have to get approval through the Texas Health and Human Services. That's just one part. I feel like that's the easier part. And you have to have your clinical site agreements. You had to have an instructor, director. Um, you have to submit that all at once to get approved. And then once you're approved on that, you have to get approval through Texas Workforce Commission. And that one I feel like is the more daunting one. There's, I mean, like a whole stack of paperwork you have to do. There's fees involved with it. You have to have financial stability forms. So I'm looking to submit that. I pretty much have the paperwork completed, but you have to have a CPA do your financial stability form, and you have 4 months to submit that is the timeline, or you have to redo it again, and it's not cheap. So Texas Workforce Commission is like the priciest thing that I've had to do so far.
Yeah.
But once you do that, then you can actually start marketing that your school will be open, because as of right now, like I can talk about it, but I can't actually market that, oh, I'm going to be launching this or whatever, to the community. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna stop right here just in case anybody has questions.
Yeah, I have a question, Amy.
mhm,
So you said it launches in September?
mhm.
Okay. So how long has this whole process been for you? I know you just stated some of the paperwork but like if
So
someone were
honestly,
wanting to start a school, how
the
long?
thought came in like January, right? And I told my husband, okay, January is my month of researching, right? I'm going to do all my research, what all I need to do to actually do my own program, because I knew what it took to do the facility program. I'm the one that submits the paperwork, gets the renewal and all that done. But it's different when you're doing a non-facility based program. It's different from a actual nursing facility. So my research month actually ran a little over into February, and March was more like, okay, I'm going to do this. And in April, I got my approval through the Health and Human Services Commission. So it honestly hasn't taken that long, but I
Wow.
think the thing is, because I've already been doing this for so long, so
Yeah.
it'd be different from somebody that doesn't have the background. I mean, you're still able to do it, but it may take a little bit longer.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like they said, it's amazing that your job, I mean, literally is like, sign a contract with you and getting you on board to do what you've already been doing. I
Been
think
very
that's amazing.
supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have like 9 minutes, and I just want to leave it for you to just give us the best advice that you want to give to nurses that have an idea. They know they want to do something different. They keep tossing around one great idea to the next idea, going to the next group, to the next group, the next job role to the next job role, the next program to the next program, the next certification to the next certification.
Well, I think you need to, have a good, clear reason of why, of your why. Why do you want to do this? You have to be passionate, and it needs to give you fulfillment in life. So I love mentoring others. I love seeing other people succeed. And I always tell people, when you start off as a CNA, like I've never been a CNA, but you're starting off this, most of the people want to become nurses, right? And I tell them, like, this is a stepping stone to get where you need to get to. So locally, one of our community colleges that I still work closely with, that's where I graduated from. They just started a CNA to LVN bridge program. I'm printing out those pamphlets, putting them out on all the units. Like, here you go. I'm never going to keep anyone from succeeding and trying to do better. So I think just knowing why you want to do this and committing to that, because I'm not going to lie, there's been other business ideas that I thought about. Like, I thought about doing Botox and that, but then I'm like, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
That like, you have to be passionate about what you're trying to do. So, the future is to add more programs like a certified medication aid. June 18th, I'm going and getting my CPR instructor certification, because I want to be able to offer all the things that you're going to need to get a job. I'm going to offer those, and you're adding more revenue to your business as well, offering all those things in-house versus sending them out to go get a TB test or get CPR certified.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so important to do what brings you joy. It's important. Like, I think there are so many amazing things happening in the profession of nursing, and so many nurses awakening and actually going out and becoming entrepreneurs. But the key to becoming successful as an entrepreneur is doing what gives you joy, not doing what somebody else did. You can have a scene. When you asked me about CNA school and we talked about it the first time, I didn't go say, oh, I'm going to go start me a CNA school now because Amy's starting one, right? I didn't do that. What did I say? I said, listen, I got a lot of resources. I know some amazing groups and some people doing some amazing things. I'm going to connect you. If you have any questions, let me know. Right.
Well, and I think that's the thing. There's plenty of, there's plenty of space for everybody to grow and have their own business. And we shouldn't be like, oh no, I'm not going to help you, because so many nurses have directed me to where I need to find information.
Yeah. Yeah. And being in a space and finding, and I don't even want to say find a space. I know that it is so important in this time to do this series that I'm going to do on Facebook. specifically for nurses, about understanding ourselves internally, because a lot of the decisions that we're making professionally have to do with the lack of understanding inside of ourselves. So you have to be doing something that you're passionate about. That when you wake up every morning, actually before you go to wake up, at night when you go to bed, you are excited. You reflected on the day you had in that business already. I reflect on everything about nurses in tech every day, every evening, never get tired. Wake up in the morning like, I got to do this today, right? My new husband is like, hey, slow down. Good morning. I'm like, I got to get up. I got to get to the bathroom because I got to go to my computer. I got to do it, and I got to do it right now. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I'm doing what I'm passionate about. And so there's many opportunities out here to make money in the area of nursing, in the area of healthcare. The key is being successful at it. And the key to being successful is doing something that is in sync with who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you are not in sync, like I would never be in sync with being a nursing spa person. I could care less about Botox. I could care less about the body sculpting, and I'd be like, girl, let's really talk about what you eating every day, okay? What you be eating? It could probably make me some money, the IV vitamin system. I mean, somebody might want to do it, but I'm over here like, IV what? You just go around and put needles in people's arms and pump them for IVs, that vitamins they gonna need again next month? Did they not do their research and realize that's not economically sound? Like,
yeah, I think you do need to be passionate. Well, no, you have to be passionate
you
about
have to
what
be
you choose in
passionate
life.
about, you have to be passionate. And I think the word passion is being overused, and passion really just means, what is it that is in alignment with who you are, that you get joy from doing? Do you get joy from educating people? Amy gets
I do,
joy
and I think
educating people.
I think the reason why I love educating people is because I think of myself, right? I wish I would have had somebody telling me like, okay, let's start here. Let's do this. I'm going to encourage you every step of the way. And I feel like when you have that, you're going to be even more successful. So I'm constantly giving the staff like information. I'm not one to hold you back. Oh, you need to, you're going to do a transition program. Okay, we'll work with you. Like they get scared to come to my office. They're like, I'm going to be starting a program. I'm like, I was in your same shoes like 2 years ago. Just tell me what you need and I'll work with you. And I think in the field of nursing right now, you have to be flexible with everybody. I mean, everybody's on their own journey and adventure. So I'm open to helping.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much for coming and talk with us today. Amy will be back very soon. She doesn't know this, but she's gonna do a session with me about how it's important to create great relationships in the community among members. One of the things that I think Amy is so great at is creating great relationships within a community and just as a person, which we've already heard about. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you guys for joining. If anybody has any last minute questions or wants to say something before we sign off, this is your time. Hi, Kenya. Hi, Tina, which I'm going to assume you're at work. Tina Baxter. Tina, you want to tell everybody about your podcast, Shark? Is it Shark Tank? I feel like that's it, but maybe that's not it.
Is it Shark Nurse or Shark
There you
Nurse?
go. I'm over here like Shark Tank. I think that's something else.
And yes, I am at work. I'm seeing patients right now. But what I do is I interview nurse business owners and leaders. So if any of you want to come on the show, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to have you on the show. And then I also help other nurses build and launch their own businesses. And I was listening to the discussion about the CNA training program, and I have one. And have had one for a number of years, and also help people to start that. And so start those programs. And I applaud you for doing the wanting to do the progression, to do the QMA or whatever you guys call it in Texas. So I appreciate all of that. And I've heard some of the discussion, but I've been in and out with patients. So.
Well, we appreciate you for stopping by. to check in on us, us little people over here at Nurses in Tech.
I'll leave the link to the show for you in the chat.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for today. Amy, thank you. Amazing as always. Look forward to seeing you guys back here next Thursday. Bree, I'm expecting you next week or the week after. I didn't forget. I got a spot for you.
Okay.
On a live session, just waiting for you to tell me the day.
Okay.
You too, Kenya. All right. So you guys have a great day and a great weekend, and see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right.